I love you.
I know.
Hey guys, hope you're going well. So here we are, we're doing part 2 of my favorite movies of 2018. I've already done a part 1 version to this earlier in the year, early in 2018. So if you want to see the movies that I loved for the first half of the year, go and check that out. But I've been putting this part 2 off and off and off because every time I think that I'm ready to sit down and film it, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just wait to see that one movie, or there's another movie I should see and maybe I'll love that one even more. And so I just have been putting it off and off and off. But now we're in the early stages of 2019, so I can no longer put it off and wait for everything that I need to see because there's just too much to see. And look, we can always do a part 3. No pressure, no pressure. I'm talking to myself right now. I'm trying to like ease off the pressure because the volume of content to see is like kind of overwhelming. As always, these movies are not going to be in any particular order as well. I do want to mention that I'm going to leave off the foreign language films. We can do our own separate list for my favorite foreign movies of the year because there have been a lot. And actually, having just said that, there is going to be one sneaky foreign language film in the bunch, but I'm going to give it a pass and you'll see why. We can talk about that later. What can I say? I like to break the rules, especially my own rules. Let us start with possibly the bleakest of the bunch. This is the film First Reformed, written and directed by Paul Schrader, starring Ethan Hawke as this disillusioned priest who's looking after a congregation that's dwindling in attendance dramatically. He starts sort of counseling this man who has radical notions about environmentalism and like the impact that humans are having on the planet, and everything just unravels from there. This movie seems simple on the surface, but there is so much bubbling, so much PTSD bubbling away beneath the surface. It's really quite dark and sinister beneath it all. Ethan Hawke's performance is outstanding. I don't think I've seen him this good. I mean, he's always really good, but this is like Gattaca good. He is so good in this role. People are already talking about an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, although he notoriously is anti the Oscars, so maybe he won't get a nomination based on politics alone, but he definitely deserves it because he is fabulous. Amanda Seyfried is in this and she is wonderful. They've kind of glammed her down, which is hard to do, but they have, and her and him together just work really well. This is a very kind of quiet movie, but it has so much to say about human relationships with each other, with the planet, and it has an ending that has a tinge of the surreal, or like there are sort of moments of surrealism kind of just subtly splattered on top, and especially this ending is very, very divisive. I had to watch this movie twice because I was just blown away. My next film is Bad Times at the El Royale, and this is a quirky one to say the least. It's a modern kind of spin on a noir thriller written and directed by Drew Goddard. It takes place in the 60s, maybe the 70s, and this group of 7 strangers all come together at this rundown, shabby chic hotel, the El Royale, right on the border of California and Nevada, like right at this crossroads, and all these strangers come from different walks of life and all come together, but they're all up to different things, and as the movie kind of unfolds, they all have ulterior motives and are all there for different reasons, but their stories kind of intertwine. The fabulous ensemble cast really rounds this up, and it's all about those characters. You know, weren't they just doing this and were they doing that? Constantly throughout the film, you're reevaluating who they all are and how they're all connected. It stars Jeff Bridges, who's this forgetful priest, and there's Cynthia Erivo in there as a struggling singer. And the third act of the film, I would say, is its downfall. It kind of goes bananas off the rails in kind of a slow way, which is a bit of a shame because the first 2/3 of the movie are fantastic, and then it kind of takes its time rounding everything out. But Chris Hemsworth is in there as well as this crazy cult leader, which is, he's like having way too much fun in this movie, and that makes it really fun and really genre, and it's cool. It's a cool film. Next up, I'm gonna surprise you. I'm gonna surprise you with Avengers Infinity War. Now, this is so a movie that I wouldn't usually include on a best of list. Well, I would, but I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't always include it because it's Marvel. So there's some understanding that I am an MCU fan and that I just like everything Marvel and will give it all a pass because it's all good. That's just my own personal bias. But Avengers Infinity War, I felt raised the bar. It wasn't my favorite Marvel of the year. That was still Marvel movie. That was still Black Panther. But the reason that Avengers has so much respect for me this year is because it brought all these really complex characters together, like all these heroes that all have their own complicated backstories. They all have several standalone movies, or many of them have multiple movies worth of story behind them, to bring them all into this huge ensemble cast and make it feel like they all have something to do. They're all involved. I didn't feel like any of the characters were stepping on any of the other characters. I just felt like the Russo brothers did a fabulous job of bringing such a huge, enormous story together into one movie. And I think that was largely in part because of the fabulous villain, best villain of the year in Thanos, played by Josh Brolin. And I just thought this movie was very good. I thought it was better. Very good. I thought it was better than very good. I thought it was excellent and an excellent Avengers installment, and I'm excited to see Avengers 4, which will be the part 2 of Infinity War, called Endgame, coming out in 2019. Actually, one more thought on that. The other thing that I'm really digging about Marvel lately is that you can enjoy it on surface level as somebody who likes action superhero movies, but they give away so many additional extra gold stars, extra Easter eggs to those who are well schooled and knowledged in the MCU. Like if you've watched all 18, is it, installments of the Marvel movies up until, you know, the current Marvel movies coming out, you can get all these extra little hints and Easter eggs and take away this whole extra layer of movie. And I think that that's really fun. It's kind of like this little Marvel cult going on, and you kind of either love it or hate it, but yeah, I love it. Who got dusted? Who is coming back? I think Gamora's gone, just quietly. I think if they bring her back, I'll be kind of annoyed. Here is a surprising entry to my best of list, and that is the sci-fi genre film Upgrade, directed by Aussie director Lee Winnall and filmed in my hometown of Melbourne. This film, I wouldn't usually expect to include like a lowbrow, like B action movie film, but when it's done, so freaking cool. Like I could slow clap this movie for days. The film stars knockoff Tom Hardy, aka Logan Marshall Green, in this sci-fi world, and he has an accident and gets changed into part man, part robot, and he's on the path to vengeance. So he's after revenge for the people who something, his wife something. It's kind of generic in that sense, but I don't care that it's generic. Oh yeah. Welcome to London. Yeah, I was saying I kind of don't care that it's a generic story. In fact, I prefer that it's a familiar story outline, because then you just get to have fun with playing with those perfectly already molded genre conventions and having a really good time, which is what this film does. It's all about kick-ass cinematography, really, really incredibly choreographed fight scenes. In fact, this film definitely has my favorite fight choreography of the year. There's one particular standout scene when Logan Marshall Green is still getting used to his RoboCop abilities, and he's like not fully in control of the machine, and he's like beating up this guy, and he's kind of like disgusted with how much he's pummeling this guy's face. This movie is super violent, super bloody, but it's a bloody good time. And I'm gonna finish up this list with Roma. This is the movie that is in the loophole because I said I wasn't gonna talk about any foreign films, but the reason that I'm allowing Roma is because this film is kind of straddling or like bridging this great gap, this great divide between foreign language and mainstream. It's by no means a mainstream movie, but the fact that it's been released on Netflix means that a mainstream audience has been able to access a more arty movie, which I am so about. So I'm feeling like, because so many people who would usually not be into foreign movies are having access and being able to watch this film. It's getting a lot more mainstream chatter and mainstream buzz. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that's why I'm going to talk about it. So it's written and directed by Alfonso Cuarón, which I think is also why it's getting a lot of mainstream buzz, because he's done big English movies in the past. But this film, this is a Spanish language film set in his childhood hometown of Mexico. I have a full review on Roma and why it is just absolutely so beautiful, so heartbreaking, so delightful as a art character piece. I highly recommend it, especially if you are maybe someone who isn't that into foreign language movies, not into subtitles. Just go out on a limb, go for Roma. It's arty, it's character driven, not plot driven, but it's so beautifully done. Just do it. Okay, that's it. They were 5 of my favorite movies from 2018 in conjunction with some of the other ones from my previous video. I'll leave a link to that if you want to see the other 5. I think they were maybe only 4 favorite movies from 2018. So all in all, that should make about 10. But having said that, if you look at these 2 videos that I've done, it's different to the list on my Letterboxd. I'll also leave a link to my top 10 movies of the year over on Letterboxd, because that's where I keep changing my mind. So every time I see new movies, like, I'm constantly rearranging the order of my favorite movies of the year. So I can't even remember. I think, oh, my favorite movie, I put Cold War, I think is my favorite movie. Cold War, Isle of Dogs, and Roma are right up the top there, I think, are some of my favorites. But I keep changing them as I keep seeing more movies. So you can see a live, constantly shifting list of my favorite 2018 movies over on my Letterboxd. Do share with me your favorite movies of the year. I'd love to know. I always love talking and get so excited about talking about favorite movies. There were definitely some stinkers this year as well, of course, as always, not gonna lie. In fact, I would probably say, in my opinion, there were more bad blockbuster movies this year than what we usually get. I feel like the bar was pretty low apart from the MCU movies. Again, I'm biased, but yeah, I feel like I didn't see a lot of big action, like big blockbuster action movies that were amazing. But yeah, the indies and the foreign movies were really coming through. That is it from me, guys. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to my channel here and keep up to date with all things movies and TV. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.